Happy Thanksgiving. There is no better day to do this, so let's go. This movie takes place in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is the birthplace of Thanksgiving. So it's Thanksgiving Day and we see two separate families sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner. So first we have Amanda and her husband Mitch, who is a store owner of this place called Right Mart. Joining them for dinner is Sheriff Eric Newland. So Mitch ends up having to leave because he gets a call saying, oh, we're actually opening up the store for Black Friday early. The second family, we have this guy, Tom Wright, who is the owner of Right Mart. His daughter, Jessica, and her boyfriend, Bobby, are there. So they leave to hang out with their group of friends who are Evan, Scuba, Yulia, and Gabby. But they decide to stop at the store, and Jessica takes them in through the employee entrance, so they're the first ones in there. Amanda also shows up to bring Mitch Thanksgiving dinner because he didn't get to eat. Now we see the crowd outside is getting absolutely out of control, and the sheriff and the security guards are trying to keep it under control, but it doesn't work. While all of this is happening, Evan is recording the whole thing. The crowd ends up storming the store, and it is absolute fucking pandemonium chaos. One dude gets his throat slit and dies, one dude gets trampled to death, and then Amanda gets knocked down and has her head run over with a shopping cart and her scalp ripped off, and she dies. And that's just the opening scene. It's fucking mayhem. So now we cut to a year later. There are protests going on outside Right Mart because Tom still wants to open the store on Thanksgiving despite what happened the year prior. We learn it was his new wife Kathleen's idea the year prior, and she's the one pushing for it to happen again this year. We also find out that Bobby, Jessica's boyfriend, completely ghosted her after the incident because he got injured during the chaos. Jessica also disagrees with her father on having the store be open again on Thanksgiving. So they're all hanging out, and all of a sudden they all get tagged in this Instagram post by this account named John Carver. It's a picture of a Thanksgiving table with place cards of all their names around it. And we also see that Bobby has now returned to town, which Jessica's new boyfriend Ryan is not happy about. We also see the sheriff in the diner, and there's these masks of John Carver that everybody wears. It's like a town tradition. And later that night, we see Lizzie, who is one of the waitresses from the diner, get attacked by somebody in a John Carver mask. Now, Lizzie was one of the crazy shoppers during the riot, and she actually directly was responsible for Amanda's death because she's the one that ran her over with the shopping cart. She literally gets cut in half, and the next day, the lower half of her body is found on the Right Mart sign. And then he goes after more people. So the next person he kills is the security guard Manny, who just completely abandoned post and didn't help anybody the night of the riot. And after he kills him, we see that he takes his head. John Carver also kills these two high school students who were there the night of the riot, Amy and Lonnie. He twists Lonnie's head all the way around, and that's happening as Amy is jumping on a trampoline, which he then gets under and starts just stabbing his knife into. So now the police understand that the killer is targeting people who were there the night of the riot. Jessica understands this too, and she starts to help the sheriff with the investigation, because after the riot, all the footage happened to disappear, and it turns out it was Kathleen who got rid of it because she didn't want bad press. But Jessica steals it out of her father's office and gives it to the sheriff. While all this is happening, we also see that John Carver is taking the bodies/body parts of the people that he's killing and sitting them around the Thanksgiving table. Soon after, while they're in the school, Evan and Gabby are abducted by John Carver. Jessica is attacked as well and barely escapes. Now, Yulia's father is freaking out and decides that they're going to go to Florida to escape this so that she doesn't get hurt. But that night, as they're packing, John Carver comes in and kills them both. Jessica and Yulia's boyfriend Scuba come in just as she's being torn apart by a saw. So Yulia is dead, Evan and Gabby are missing, so now it's just Jessica and Scuba. So the sheriff goes to talk to them as well as Jessica's father, and the crew makes a plan to smoke this guy out, basically. And they make a plan to do that at the annual parade. But John Carver somehow is one step ahead of them. He decapitates the guy who's dressed in the turkey suit at the parade, who ends up being another rioter, and he kidnaps Jessica, Scuba, Tom, and Kathleen. Kathleen wakes up to being literally seasoned. John Carver is basting her and putting salt on her. She fights back and almost manages to escape, but ultimately he ends up cooking her in this human-sized oven. And then we see the Thanksgiving table, so we see the bodies of all the other people that have already been victims of John Carver. We see that Evan and Gabby are still alive and sitting at the table. John Carver comes in and unveils a platter in the middle of the table, and it is Kathleen's body positioned like a turkey would be. Now, our boy John Carver here is also live streaming this entire thing. So while this is all happening, the police are trying to track the location. And on the live stream, he bludgeons Evan to death. While that's happening, Jessica uses a ring that she's wearing to cut through the rope on her hands, and then she passes it over to Scuba, who does the same, and the two of them escape. John Carver comes after them and injures Scuba and then chases Jessica into the woods. She makes it to where the parade warehouse is, where she finds the sheriff unconscious in the road. And when she goes into the warehouse, she finds somebody in a John Carver mask, and when he takes it off, it's Bobby. The sheriff comes to at this point and comes in and starts shooting at Bobby, but he misses him and Bobby escapes. So the police show up, they tell Jessica that they went and found the rest of the survivors, they're safe. Then Jessica and the sheriff are left alone. Now, when Jessica was running through the woods from John Carver, there were these pieces of debris that stuck to her. And she looks down at the sheriff's pants and sees the same things. And that's when it's revealed that the sheriff is John Carver and he framed Bobby. Turns out the sheriff and Amanda were having an affair, and Amanda was actually pregnant with his baby and was going to leave her husband. And after she was killed in the riot, the sheriff wanted to get revenge against the people that he found to be responsible. But our girl Jessica is living in modern times because it turns out she's been live streaming his whole confession as he's telling her. So now everybody knows that the sheriff is the killer. So he ends up attacking her, but Bobby comes in and saves her. A struggle ensues, but the two of them end up making it out and they set a fire to the warehouse with the sheriff inside. Jessica does that by inflating a parade balloon and then shooting the tank with a musket and it explodes. So the day is saved, Jessica and Gabby reunite, but they hear the paramedics saying that they haven't found the sheriff's body, but that it was most likely incinerated in the flames. The last scene is Jessica having a nightmare of the sheriff fully engulfed in flames attacking her. I don't think he actually died, and I think they set us up perfectly for a Thanksgiving sequel.